What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Voss Fit. This is part 2 of the Less is More series, which means we are talking about fasting and why eating less can give us more. Firstly, I'm definitely not a doctor, so don't look for that credential because you ain't gonna find it. I just wanted to share my research and experience about the subject, pros, the cons, the whys, etc, etc. Secondly, I don't fast for weight loss. That can be an outcome of fasting if that is your goal, but my interest is optimizing the efficiency of my body for physical and mental longevity. So fasting isn't a new thing. Throughout evolution, humans have been fasting constantly. There might have not been enough food in the environment where they were, or sometimes our ancestors would have to walk for days before they even found food. But now, in this new world, it has been packaged and branded into 3 main areas. The first one is the typical calorie restrictive fasting, where you go for a certain amount of time without taking in any calories. The second is macronutrient fasting, and that is restricting either proteins, carbs, or fats on a given day, depending what you do. Now, this type of fasting is mainly for athletes who might be carb loading because they've got a long training session one day and then restricting the amount of carbs for the next day. And the last one is seasonal eating. Now, I wouldn't really class this one as fasting because it's just eating tubers and denser, fattier foods during the winter months, and then in the summer you eat lighter foods, less fatty, leaner foods. But right now I'm going to be talking about the first one, which is calorie restrictive fasting, which means going a given amount of time without taking any or very little calories. My eating window is the typical 16-8 ratio of intermittent fasting, which means I eat in an 8-hour window and I fast for 16 hours. So I start eating at 12 p.m. and I finish my last meal by 8 p.m. and then I don't eat again until 12 the next day. Plus, once a month, every month, on the first of the month, I fast for roughly 40 to 48 hours with no food, just water. But why? I hear you cry. Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you anyway. Firstly, I'm fascinated about how we even evolved. What did we eat? How did we survive through bouts of starvation? What kind of eating fueled our evolution? What are we doing differently now than what we did back then? And has social and industrial evolution moved too quick for our biological evolution? The 9 to 5, 3 meals a day, one size fits all routine definitely didn't exist back then. And with the advancement of this fast, easy, processed food, the West seems to be in an obesity crisis. So something's not working. We all know that eating fewer calories than we burn off helps us lose weight, right? But what if we go further? What if we go deeper? How does calorie restriction altogether help us? Hold on to your Bunsen burners, people. It's about to get nerdy. When we eat, some of that energy is stored in the liver as glycogen. Now, after about 10 to 12 hours of not eating, our glycogen levels drop. And at this point, fat cells are released into the bloodstream. They make a beeline for the liver, and once they get there, the liver converts the fat cells into energy. Blood samples show that those who fast for 12 to 24 hours had a 60% increase in energy from fat, with the biggest change happening around 18 hours. You get an increase in human growth hormone and a decrease in insulin, which helps people to lose weight. The process of burning fat puts your body in a state called ketosis, which is where your body releases chemicals called ketones. And in the brain, ketones trigger the release of a molecule called BDNF. BDNF helps strengthen neurons and neural pathways in parts of the brain that are most associated with learning and memory. So it increases mental acuity, sharpness, and clarity. Also, and this is my favorite part, the reduction in insulin helps increase a process called autophagy. Autophagy is the process of cleaning and recycling damaged cellular material. This is where it gets a bit weird. So cells eat themselves. They basically eat their old, dysfunctional, unnecessary parts, and with the energy from that, they build new parts. So if this process of autophagy is to aid cellular regeneration, eating old to create the new, the failure of this process is therefore associated with age-related diseases, with cancers, with bacterial and viral infections. So that, for me, the cellular regeneration and the biological longevity is not just a possibility of more time on this planet, but more healthy time on this planet. So that's one reason why we're so interested in it. The other reason, and this is more of a psychological benefit, as well as the mental acuity and clarity, is the discipline. I found that when I strengthen myself in one area, I strengthen myself in all areas. And you can use something like discipline to stop cycles and untangle habits like procrastination, excessive screen time, smoking, working out longer, or just the discipline to get up and work out in the first place. Depending on the level of discipline, some people might regularly fast for 5 days, 10 days, 30 days. Actually, there was one Scottish guy who, I think it was in 1965, he fasted for 382 days on just water, coffee, soda, and vitamins. Apparently he did it because he was just sick of being obese. He was like 32 stone, and in 382 days, just over a year, he managed to lose 9.7 stone. To be honest, I didn't even want to fast at first. I thought I was going to get mad skinny, I was going to lose all my muscle mass, or I wouldn't have enough energy to train, or when I was training I'd just feel hungry all the time. But actually the opposite happened. If you search in YouTube, vegan bodybuilder eats 1 meal a day, you'll come across a brother that speaks a little bit like Morpheus from The Matrix. You probably need like 6 dictionaries. His vocab is nuts. He's like Russell Brand times 10. Anyway, he eats 1 meal a day in a 1 to 2 hour window and then fasts for the rest of the time. This guy holds a few national records and also a world record in his weight category for deadlifting. This guy is stacked. So he was the guy, as well as a nudge from one of my good friends who finally persuaded me to actually try it. And after a slight adjustment, not only could I easily train fasted, but I could grow muscle and I was getting stronger. Not significantly, but enough for me to want to take intermittent fasting on as a part of my lifestyle. I found out that in the duration of your fast, the amount of human growth hormone that you produce increases. Human growth hormone, or HGH, is an anabolic hormone which stimulates the growth and preservation of muscle tissue. So due to fasting coupled with resistance training, I've been able to hold on and grow muscle tissue even though I eat less and within a smaller window of time. So because my body isn't spending all the extra time digesting, I feel like I sleep less, which means I've got more time during the day. And also during the day, I have more energy. I don't have that mid-afternoon crash like I used to. I feel lighter, I feel sharper, and this just might be in my head, but if I ever have something like a minor illness, a little sniffles, cough or cold, then I feel like I've healed so much quicker than I used to. So how I schedule this 8-hour window is that I'll break my fast at around 12 p.m. with something like watermelon. Then about 20 minutes later, I have this super shake. It is dense, it weighs like a kilo, it's mad. And then mid to late afternoon, I'll try and fit in as many calories in a big meal as I can. Then I'll finish up by around 7 or 8 p.m. with a light salad or some kind of soup. I've only been fasting intermittently and once a month for about a year now. But this was me 6 years ago. This is me a few months after fasting. And then this is where I'm at now. So for me, I found so many benefits in this. This is the reason why I have adapted this into my lifestyle. The one con that I have found in this is the discipline. Because it's never fun to stretch the parameters of your discipline, but that's how we grow, and it's always worth it in the end. So hopefully you found some of this information helpful and you can see a little deeper why in this case, less is again more. I saw a quote that said, true power is not how much you can have, but how much you can go without. And that leads beautifully onto part 3, which is minimalism. So until then, thank you guys.